Seattle Seahawks Today is presented by the Fetch Rewards app. Download it for free at chatsports.com/fetch and use promo code Seahawks for 3,000 bonus points. Tell you all about the app later on in today's video, but it is mailbag time. And as a reminder, if you want to be a part of the mailbags, subscribe and make sure you're using hashtag Seahawks in the comments section for any questions you've got on Seattle. Let's begin with that fat rat. Should the Seahawks get a running back like Kenneth Walker in the draft? Penny and Carson are good, but their injuries scare me. I think that's a very fair concern to have, given Carson and Penny have been wholly unable to consistently stay healthy. There have been plenty of flashes with each of those players. There's also DJ Dallas and Travis Homer, more on the back end of that depth chart. I don't like the idea of spending your second-round pick at running back, which means Seattle will probably do that because they never do what I want them to do when it comes to the draft. Here are my top 5 guys in this order: Isaiah Spiller, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, Kyren Williams, James Cook. I'm not as high on Walker and Hall are on others, and they're all maybe round 2 grades for me. The combine testing, I think, will have a nice little impact on this. I want to see what Spiller, Hall, and Walker all run. I don't know if they're like true sub 4 or 5 guys, but I bet one of them runs that figure. I want to see if Walker can catch. He didn't do much of that at Michigan State, so I'm curious from that standpoint. I like a James Cook, Kyren Williams on, round 3, day 3. I mean, Kyron's an awesome passer, which I think matters a lot more in today's NFL. So I'm open to it. I don't want to spend a second-round pick, but if like Kenneth Walker's there in round 3, I'm not going to complain at all about that particular draft path. So name a position Seattle must address in the 2022 NFL Draft. I'm going to make this question the pinned comment on today's video. So head down to the comment section. Start talking with your fellow Seahawks fans. If the ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and drop a position for me. From GBK Hawk, hi Tom, what are the chances we get Calvin Ridley with DK and Lockett? That'd be amazing. I think the Seahawks should get Ridley and the Falcons get a 2nd from next year and a 6th from next year. So this is the trade package here. 2nd and 6th round pick next year. I think that's too low. I don't foresee Atlanta settling for a future 2nd. Now, I'll make note, the idea of adding Calvin Ridley with DK Metcalf Lockett is incredible. If you could do it for that trade package, I wouldn't be mad at it. I think that the Falcons are going to push for a 2nd round pick or more this year. So at a little bit low, and I think from Seattle's perspective as well, as fun as it is, it borders a little bit on the Madden style, because how are you going to address the rest of your needs? You got to figure out your offensive line, your tight end room, your pass rush, interior D-line group, corners, safety with Quandre Diggs. Great idea. I ain't going to be upset if they pull it off, but I don't think it's a path Seattle is going to pursue, because remember, they want to use Dee Eskridge more too. Their 2nd round pick of last year. Now, maybe if you can package Eskridge as part of a trade for really makes more sense, but I think the presence of Eskridge means they're going to look in a different direction. From Striker.YouTube, who do you think had the better rookie season between Tre Brown and Dee Eskridge, with them both being limited? Who will have a better second year? Well, here are the numbers for both guys to start. Tre Brown targeted 17 times, allowed just 8 catches for 75 yards. When he was out there, I thought he looked pretty good. But he wasn't out there very much. Neither was Dee Eskridge, who had 10 catches and 64 yards and a score in 10 games played. From a volume perspective, the answer is Dee Eskridge, because he played more games, right? I was a bit more impressed by Tre Brown relative to their own expectations. I think long-term, though, I'm not out on Eskridge. So right this second, I think I'd go with Tre Brown is the better player. Long-term, I'm still optimistic about Eskridge's impact in terms of what he can be in this offense for Russell Wilson. So what do you think? Right now, who is the better player? Type B for Tre Brown or type in E for Dee Eskridge. From Zane Martin, if Seattle extends Wilson, Wagner, and Metcalf, then would they have a bit more money to go out and spend more in free agency? Listen, for example, recent players we need, and then still have money to get bigger names. If you restructure Wilson and Wagner and extend those guys and pay Metcalf. Metcalf would cost you more this upcoming year, but not that much more. It would be a lot of backloaded deals. Wilson, Wagner's cap hits go way down. This is the route I would go. If I'm Seattle, I am all in on trying to win right now. I would adopt the Saints mindset. You've got a QB in his 30s. He is a franchise guy, and he gives you by far your best chance of winning games right now than getting a Jalen Hurts or something. I would be all in on maximizing my current window. My head coach is aging. My GM's been there for a long time as well. What happens 5-6 years from now doesn't really impact me that much. Now, ownership might step in there, but you win a ring, nobody cares. So I would go all in. I would restructure, extend those older guys, and try to win the next couple years while I still have much of my core and my window in place. Now, today's show, like we mentioned, is powered by the Fetch Rewards app. Use the app to scan receipts from any store or restaurant. Once you do so, you'll get points, whether it's Starbucks, Walmart, Target, fast food, whatever, you will rack up points. As you rack them up, you can then redeem them for gift cards like you're going to see right here on this little handy video. You start with 3,000 bonus points when you use promo code Seahawks at chatsports.com/fetch. So again, any store, any receipt, it works on the Fetch Rewards app. And you get bonus points for purchasing various products. Eventually, you can then rack up enough to redeem it for Amazon, Starbucks, Ulta for your girl out there. 3,000 bonus points when you use promo code Seahawks at chatsports.com/fetch. I'll put that link in both the comment section and in the description, plus the promo code as well. All right, from Amateur Bandit. Could a healthy Seahawks team, as it's constructed right now, compete with the top NFL teams? So, I don't know if you mean like re-signing everybody or if you mean with the free agents factored in. Either way, my answer is not quite. You need to make some adjustments. This past year for Seattle was a disappointment, but injuries were a huge factor in that. They were banged up. They were missing some key players. They kind of overhauled the staff both last year and this year. So I do think adjustments are needed from that perspective. I think you could run it back to an extent, but I also want to add some players out there in the open market in free agency. Speaking of, the Boskin. After Orlando Brown Jr. and Teron Armstead, who is the best left tackle for us to go after via free agency, trade, or draft that we can reasonably get? But I'm willing to spend here. You got to keep Russ happy. We mentioned some trade guides in the past. Andre Dillard could make a lot of sense. Laramie Tunsil might be too expensive. Beyond the big names, here are some tier 2-ish left tackle options. Riley Reef has played left and right side. And these are free agents, of course, by the way. Eric Fisher's a good dark horse name. Got better as the year went on, I thought, in Indy. Cam Robinson, former early round pick, has not lived up to expectations in Jacksonville, but he could be a good fit. Could also just bring back Dwayne Brown and go draft somebody as well if you want to go with a cheaper deal for Dwayne Brown and then still look at maybe a round 2, round 3 pick along the offensive lineman. Jay Ogren says, who is the top SEC O-lineman the Hawks are going to draft this year? You're not going to get Evan Neal, so we're going to cheat a little bit here because I think you're looking at tackle, maybe center. There are 2 Kentucky players on the offensive line. You guys all know Darian Kinnard. Luke, I think it's pronounced Fortnite, is the other guy I think is worth watching for along that O-line at the center, or Luke Fortner, at center for the offensive line. But SEC lineman, it's not what it normally is at the tackle spot. It's more guard heavy, which I don't think is a great fit. So I expanded it. SEC day 2 guys. We mentioned Kinnard, Jalen Wydermyer, edge rusher Kingsley Enagbare, linebacker Christian Harris, and a guy that I would love for Seattle. I know it doesn't fit their normal mold, but I love him as a day 2 pick or a round 2 pick, Khair Elam out of Florida. Now, when it comes to draft and free agency, which one do you guys like more? Type in D for you're a big-time draft fan, or type in F for free agency. Sound off for me in the comments section right now. While you're down there, make sure you guys are subscribed. We've got draft, trades, free agency, and everything else in between for you guys covered on our Seahawks channel. So if you have not already, you know what? It's time to join us. Hit that big red button and sub today for more free Seahawks coverage. Stefan Sailor, what do you believe are the Seahawks' top 3 needs? As things sit right now, before free agency begins, my top 3 are quarterback, offensive tackle, and center. Big-time free agents at all of those positions. Now, as you get more into free agency in the draft, that list will change. The list expands, and I broke down my team needs earlier this offseason. So again, make sure you guys are subscribed. Now, the recent comments by Clint Hurt make me think they are going to prioritize edge rusher more, a specific type of edge rusher, so keep that in mind. From Chris Collins, who will be the best offensive lineman and defensive lineman free agent for the Seahawks? Now, if you're talking more interior defensive line, some names I think could make some sense. Maybe you do want to make true Puna Ford your 3 technique. Some names here. These are a lot of investment as guys who fit the 3-4 style. Calais Campbell could be great. Now, you got some guys who play that similar role. I think B.J. Hill could be a nice under-the-radar 3 tech who's not going to break the bank for you. I like that idea on the defensive line. Then we kind of went through some offensive line options earlier. And don't worry, Chris, we'll do full videos on this kind of various position targets for Seattle. From Hibbo is the best. What's your one player you think the Seahawks trade? I'd love to trade L.J. Collier. I don't think anyone wants to move on from him. So I'll go with this name. Well, Benson Mayowa. Now, you might not be able to, but as Seattle adopts more of a true 3-4 style, they want stand-up edges. I think Carlos Dunlap will be kind of relegated to a situational pass rusher role when they go to their 4-man fronts. What am I doing with Benson Mayowa? Can he play 3-4 edge full-time? I'm not so sure. I would shop him and maybe Kerry Hyder as well. From Junior Estrada to the Seahawks, signed DeSean Jackson in free agency. Are you out on Dee Eskridge? Jackson brings you still inconsistent but dynamic at points, vertical threat ability. If you want a big-time playmaker, Jackson be that guy. He also forced his way off the Rams to go to the Raiders, and we know how that turned out from a ring perspective. So, yeah, I hate the idea of DeSean in Seattle. I would kind of just want to give Dee Eskridge the reins. He got Metcalf to do vertical stuff too. If he wants to go cheap 1-year vet min, sure, make him my wide receiver 4 or insurance 3. But I don't want to pay him and guarantee him a bunch of big money because I don't think he's going to have a big-time role in Seattle if he were to sign. Folks, if you have more questions, remember to subscribe to us here at Seattle Seahawks Today, and make sure you're using hashtag Seahawks in the comments section. Makes life a lot easier for producer Sam when he's getting together and making all these building the mailbag shows, I should say, finding your questions. Make sure you use hashtag Seahawks.